Rail Up, the future mobility podcast with innovators and leaders of the ecosystem. Presented by Sebastian Sperker.
Yes, we can. That's the mindset of my special guest Babette Müller-Reichwallner. With her extensive experience in the rail industry, Babette has always inspired me with her belief that we have the power to transform the ecosystem and don't need to wait for anyone. She's a perfect guest for our exciting discussions on tackling significant challenges and overcoming resistance to innovation in rail. Babette will reveal why investing in locomotion could be a long-term risk and share her insights on the ETCS development. We will explore new companies and initiatives, and she will unveil her vision if she were the European Union's Transport Commissioner. I'm thrilled to have Babette join us live from the stunning Lake Como in Italy. Welcome, Babette. So, hi Babette, and welcome to Rail Up, the podcast. And as everyone knows already, like I start my podcast always the same question, Babette. Are you more a leader or an innovator?
I would say that I'm a little bit more a leader with a good part of innovator in it. I think it needs both to move things forward, so to have a strategic view, and but to also use some innovative mindset to bring it really to the point.
Good, and basically our topic is today, yes, we can, and in the last 12 episodes of Rail Up and during various Rail Talks events, I spoke with many inspiring guests and personalities about the future of rail and innovative approaches to reinvent the ecosystem, and it was an incredible, encouraging journey for me. And I felt that we can indeed bring about change, transforming the rail into a highly efficient, green and safe mode of transport. And the sentiment was, as Obama said at the time, yes, we can. However, there is a crucial addition to this phrase in the context of the railway ecosystem. I would say it's yes, we can, if we really want. And unfortunately, the overall willingness to change is very limited and falls far short of it's needed. And therefore, we delve into why we are in this situation. And therefore, Babette, I invited you as an expert, and I would even say like a rail influencer, who embodies the spirit required to drive this change. And so let's begin with a big, huge question. Currently, we have a strong support and momentum from the public, from the industry, from the politics, and even substantial investments to expand the railway. And we have a lot of input, but when we examine the output, the results are surprisingly poor. Despite this tremendous backing, the model shift is not really processing as expected and is in fact leaning towards to the road. So Babette, what's going wrong?
Yeah, what's going wrong? I think what you just said is absolutely right. The momentum is there. So we have these federal conditions that everyone wants to move towards a greener future. And we all know that rail can and actually has to play a crucial role in this green future. We have technology advancing in favor also of boosting rail, and still we're running behind. From my perspective, what's going wrong is a bit, we've kind of settled in this situation. So it has been like this. We're still moving. So the modal shift is kind of happening. It's very slow, but the railway is always slow. So that's the answer you get when you ask the question. And we've settled in this kind of inactivity, pointing towards others. Actually, I have a problem because the infrastructure is not right. I have a problem because the shippers don't trust me. So we're very well living with our problems and stopped a bit looking at the opportunities and solutions to change the current situation. I would like to quote the new managing director of the BDB association in Germany, Ola Kemp, who said she was out of the railway for a year and came back. And she said, actually, the problems are kind of the same, but I'm concerned that the public outrage has actually decreased. So we're fine with the situation, and this is the problem. We're not moving, and definitely not all in the same direction.
Just recently, the nomination of the new commissioner von der Leyen again, and basically, if you just listen to their speech, there was from in the previous period, there was the Green Deal, the most important thing, and now you just have the feeling that it's already done, and we can head to the next topics. And do you think, you said the model shift is happening? What is your impression about that?
So my impression is that, or when you look at the figures, there are slight changes. So it is there are slight movements towards a little bit more of rail traffic in general. The problem is, of course, that is always influenced by the momentum. We will probably see again a move back now with the big construction works happening in Central Europe, mainly in Germany, which will heavily have an impact on the rail traffic and bringing it back to road, especially for the freight trains, because the tracks are just built and they cannot run. But there has been some changes, but far beyond what would be needed to reach the goals of 2030 or to really make a change. And it's not said, as I mentioned before, that it's going to continue in a positive way. So we have not yet made any real shift. I wouldn't even call it shift. The modal shift hasn't even started. It's some drops, some little steps, sometimes in the right direction, but it's not really a mindset shift, and it's not a shift in the sector.
Yeah. And I think you just hit quite a good point. You talked before technology and also the mind shift, and basically when we see in other sectors, or for example, I don't know, the automotive industry, you just see that you need a front runner in order to really disruption is always a big word, but to change a specific ecosystem. We saw it again, Elon Musk here in the podcast, but we see it with Tesla, which just said, okay, I go for electric cars. And just after the success of Tesla, all the big players actually followed or said, okay, let's build electric cars. Who is the front runner in the ecosystem of rail? Do we have a Tesla for the rail?
Currently, I don't really see a Tesla for rail. Because it's that's also one of the standard answers when it comes to rail questions and problems. It's so complex. Yeah. And I would also question if we need an Elon Musk for rail. This is always we're sometimes trying to aim for one big shot, for one big thing. So if you would look at, for example, the first initiatives for ETCS or for the digital automatic coupling, those could have been and still could be the Elon Musk projects for rail, but they will have an impact in 10, 15 years, a real impact. So I think rather than waiting for an Elon Musk or trying to find an Elon Musk, because when it's this finger pointing, we're also usually shifting the problem away from ourselves. It's about finding the small approach projects and the small impacts we can have. And there I see a lot of very good initiatives already that would need to be more standardized and more rolled out across other stakeholders, across other companies, where some are already going in a good direction. But in the railway, you have a lot of engineers. Everyone wants to reinvent the wheel. So there are a lot of smaller initiatives that would require more, a broader audience actually to bring it a bit broader. And waiting for the Elon Musk, the electric car is probably not helping a lot.
Okay, but now basically the question is obvious. Like, can you just share with us like one, two initiatives where you think, wow, that's really some maybe small one, but really good one to bring the ecosystem of rail forward?
Yeah, there are different initiatives. I know you've been talking already in your podcast with Stefan Kirchbaum, Nevomo. So I think this is something that could work, that is really using this magnetic technology for some use cases. And I'm not talking about the real big thing, and I'm very happy they are not, but they have this step approach, and I think this can have an impact. I know digitization in general, digitization of the assets has an impact, and we're far away. So talking about Elon Musk on one side, we're still searching wagons and locomotives across all Europe. So we're the first digitization step of having a GPS information on rail vehicles, although it sounds crazy, is a step that hasn't been taken yet. And at least not across all vehicles and across the sector. So doing these baby steps, giving information up front of the vehicles. So there's the company, for example, Railnova, that is doing a lot of digitization of these assets, providing information of the vehicles up front to plan maintenance, to increase reliability, to reduce costs, all these things. Looking at initiatives for to monitor electricity use of the locos. This is also very good initiatives already to improve cost efficiency on rail, and there are solutions that help it. Or then coming back to Elon Musk a bit, autonomous trains. I absolutely don't understand why we're actually kind of behind on this topic on rail, when it's so much easier. You're just on rail, you don't have a real crossing. So from the technology, it can work, and it can be there, and there are initiatives. There's, for example, there's Rail Vision doing some camera assistance systems. There's a Belgian startup called OTIF also working on autonomous driving and driver assistance in this way. Also in a step approach, a bit like Nevomo did on their field. So I think these are the things where technology is already advanced, and it's worth investing more and paying more attention and bring it to a broader audience.
And maybe just we are also here as a fact-finding mission. I mean, you have also background in the digitalization like of rolling assets, especially locomotions. Can you just give us a feeling, because like it sounds quite, I mean, every new car could be followed GPS-wise, or you can just have like, I don't know, like a tag where you just see where a specific item is from Apple or whatever. So can you just give us a feeling like how many locos are not equipped with a simple GPS device that you see where it is, how many kilometers it's doing? Or do you have a feeling about the market?
Well, it's actually, it's most of them still. Luckily, It's going to decrease because new modern locomotives usually come with a kind of monitoring system, but only in the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years, this became a kind of standard. And then there's still a question, and this is a big topic also. You have always this data and the regulation topics in rail, where in the end the question is, who owns this GPS data and the kilometers of the locomotive? Is it the manufacturer that installed the device? Is it the operator? Does the shipper at the end, should he be informed about it? What about the workshop? It's maybe a third party. Should the workshop have access to it? So it's crazy. The time we spent on discussing it while other industries move forward and just share this information and move forward, because everyone has an interest in this basic information. And we're not talking about something crazy. We're talking about mileage, and we're talking about GPS position in the first step. And why are we still talking about it in 2024? Because we're not there yet. And that's a kind of a sad story.
Yes, it is. And just recently, my car workshop called me and recommended me to book the upcoming service if I'm planning a long distance trip this summer. And they already proposed me some fitting dates. And I was really thinking, what a great service, actually. Although I know that they're using my data, but for me, it definitely made sense. And if we're looking at the rail, it seems to be extremely difficult to share data with other parties, such as workshops, customers, and shippers. And that's a comment what I hear literally in every of the podcast sessions. I mean, we don't have to share everything, but I already heard so many real cool and smart cases in which you can really boost efficiency and at the end to save money or increase quality. You also mentioned technology and innovation, and we both know that innovation doesn't happen on its own. So it requires the right environment that allows for time, thoughtful consideration, financial flexibility, experimentation, learning, and naturally investments they're therefore essential. So however, this environment, at least what I talk to my guests, is often lacking in our industry. So instead of focus tends to be on merely proving existing methods rather than embracing them fully. So why do we find it so difficult, unlike other sectors, to take more risk and embrace progress and new ideas?
I'm not 100% sure how it is compared to other industries, but one thing I've really noticed during the last years where I've done a lot of digitization projects in the railway sector is that technology is never the topic. So it's never about non-existing technology or inventing something. Also because what I said before, we're so far behind. We're talking about mileage and GPS and bringing it to the right person, for example, to make use of it. The problem I see is that all these topics are extremely emotional topics. So there are always people behind. There are always fears. It's a fear of, and it's crazy fears. Fear of losing the job. I can say with the current talent war, we're actually lacking every person that wants to work in the sector. So this is a fear of losing control. Can I be controlled? Am I the driver? And what information is then available? It's a crucial point to discuss and to be transparent about what's happening behind. But it's a fear. These are fears that are blocking. And what can my team do without me? What decision do I as the manager take today, and will it still be beneficial for me in the first decade? Will I still be there when it's beneficial? This is also a big problem when we're pointing at the politicians not taking decisions, because in the railway, you're looking a railway, a locomotive, a train is running 20, 30 years or longer. A politician is looking at 4, 5, maximum 8 or 10 years in the first glance, because this is what he knows he's going to do. So decisions are not aligned with these cycles. Let's go back to what we said in the beginning. We could do it if we wanted. So you need someone who wants it. You need someone who wants to change and who enables and gives the environment you just described before, to have the right employees there, to attract also the right talent to work in this industry and bring the industry forward.
Instead of waiting for decisions from the politicians, just starting working in your own company with your own toolbox to improve. And that's actually really cool, encouraging me on the one hand, but on the other hand, to see so little progress overall, it's also scary. And I think we should not blame anyone who tried and failed, but there should be somehow the consequences if opportunities are not used. And it would be a bit unfair to say there is no innovation in rail, because there are actually a lot of initiatives. And of course, there are the two big, most frequent buzzwords when it comes to rail innovation, and that's ETCS and that's DAC. And while ETCS should enhance the efficiency, the safety, the capacity, and of course the interoperability, the DAC should improve the operations especially in the single wagon network. And these initiatives are super huge. And I think sometimes people just focus that we have to work on these two topics, and then all our topics in railway for the future is done and we are fit to meet or achieve all these climate targets. But the point is, if you talk to experts, they often state that a significant impact may be realized in 10 to 20 years. And that's probably too late to prove that rail freight plays an important role in the global supply chain in the future. So, Babette, what is your perception on this topic?
Yeah, that's also my perception. So you have this, I mentioned it earlier, you have these two kind of beacon projects that everyone aims to, and everyone is also kind of, it provokes actually that everyone not directly involved lays back and says something like, yeah, but innovation in the sector is done because someone is working on ETCS and another one is working, others are working on the DAC. And at some point it will be there, it will work somehow, and they forget to do it. To be a bit fair, innovation projects and everything that comes with it requires resources, requires financial resources, requires people, the right people to do it. A lot of railway companies are just very, very busy with their daily business because they're managing a lot of complexity, as we said in the beginning. So I think it's normal, it's human to stop or not start things that are just a bit outside of your core business. And innovation and things modernizing, bringing things forward are never part of the core business. And we should, this is really a mindset we need to fight, that we bring it in the core business, because it will in the core impact our core business. If we do it right, it will improve our core business. So having this mindset that, and here I'm really talking about everyone and every stakeholder in this industry can, with small approaches and can with innovative projects on specific levels. This can be small things like how to automate to bring the mileage to the person planning the maintenance, or how to support automatic driving, or how to improve the shunting yard on a few kilometers outside, because these are the small things that will improve the daily work and consequently the core business. But you have to have the mindset to allow this, to allow failure. That's a cultural question. If I try something, I try a new technology, I do a project, so I invest, I put a few people aside or give them some freedom to test something, and imagine it fails. There are a lot in innovative projects. The risk of failing is high because it's not proven. This is why it's innovation. But you need to allow that it fails. It can fail because you will learn from it, and the next one might be failing as well, and then you will learn again. But I must admit that doing this side of the core business, which is as a railway undertaking, running trains, is heavy, and is understandable that it's not so easy to integrate. So therefore, we really need from the management this shift.
Yes, but I believe a stronger focus on innovation and digitalization is essential. When discussing growth in rail freight, nearly all experts would agree that the intermodal transport is a growing segment. But per definition, intermodal transport combines two modes of transport. And if road transport advances much faster with AI, digital platforms, autonomous driving, green energy engines, I think there is a potential risk that these advancements could overshadow the USP of the rail. Or in other words, rail should not be seen as an isolated entity, but as an integrated part of a broader transportation network. And therefore, yes, I agree, the mindset shift is needed. And in our previous discussion, we talked about the forced railway package, which allows much more flexibility in designing processes. And however, we also hear for some railway undertakings that this freedom is sometimes even seen as a burden because not everything is predefined. And these companies probably then complain about the regulatory complexity. Yeah. But alongside technological advancements, as you said, we need to embrace and adopt new organization approaches.
It would be funny if it wouldn't be so sad that something that was kind of meant to give more freedom came back to be perceived as more burden. So there's definitely not everything right in the forced railway package, but indeed it's a bit less regulated and giving the possibility to think about it, to adapt it to your own operations, and it's barely used this opportunity. So talking about Mindshift is a general one, but especially looking at all these regulations we have in rail, because this is, without any doubts, we are much more regulated. There are reasons why we are so regulated, but we are more regulated than road, and this is a general burden for the sector. Still, every regulation also brings the possibility to change something, so you know in which part you could invest and see opportunities in these new things rather than risk. Define it for yourself. So look at how you can create it and develop it for your railway undertaking, and on a low level. I've seen a lot of nice partnerships within smaller railway undertakings when it comes, for example, to sharing people, or also for sharing capacities on freight trains by making it more transparent what's still where the capacities still are, and there are small tools on it. So this is also something when we're talking about technology. While 1 or 2 decades ago we had only big companies providing software solutions on new technology things. Now, when you look at the landscape of railway suppliers, and I'm specifically talking about the ones that are only or mainly supplying the railway, because they are a lot. So you have nowadays a lot of smaller startups, or today even scale-ups, if they're not all of them are young, but they're still small, they're flexible, they're bringing good solutions, and they're bringing actionable solutions that you can actually implement. And they're bridging a bit the gap that the companies have themselves with the lack of resources, especially the special knowledge that might be required. Not every railway undertaking or whatever other railway company has an IT expert or software developer in-house, but you have good suppliers bridging this and providing you softwares as a service. This is something that wasn't there 15 years ago and is now kind of everywhere already. And this means it's available, and using the opportunities that you can also get from changing regulations, but mainly from your mind shift, from asking yourself, what can you change? Because if we stay with this, we've done it like this the last 40 years. Yeah, we've done it the last 100 years like this. But we cannot continue doing it the next 40 years like this, because then we won't be there, or we won't succeed, absolutely not succeed in what we're planning to do, reaching the shift towards rail and making it the green future. And we're there. We need to do it. Who else should do it?
Absolutely. Just looking like in front of, we know that our rail freight is like a significant part, at least in transportation, to tackle the climate change, like in Europe. We know. We also see and feel it right now that the way how we're doing rail freight today won't be the same as rail we should run tomorrow, in order to really increase the modal shift from the 20 or even lower, like to the 30%. So we also know that the way and the direction what we are having right now won't allow us to really make this model shift, which is then contradictory to all the climate targets what we have so far. So we need to change, and this is very obvious, but we still haven't the mindset in order to do so. And I think therefore we should really encourage everyone really to have a take on this topic, right? Because even the smaller projects might help us at the end of the day to make it much more efficient. And basically, like I just had it like on my table, just one word. I think sometimes we're trying to really utilize a loco at its best, but at the end of the day, I think we have to the ecosystem of rail has to see themselves like really as a part of a supply chain, and it's not just to run a loco very efficiently. It's at the end of the day transport cargo in the most efficient and best way from the customer from A to B with combining mode of transport, right? And this also, like, I think we can learn a lot from the road as well, vice versa. But you have quite a vast experience in locomotive. Do you think it's a financial risk to invest today in a loco if you would like it to use it for 40 years?
I don't even have to think about it. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I would be very, very sad if the technology you can buy today, which is not even the technology of today, to be honest, because the locomotives that you can buy today are already on the market for some time. And the new ones, the new models developed are just about to come. And if this technology is still en vogue and really up to date and well, usable is maybe not the right word, but the thing I would like to use in 40 years, then we will have done something really, really wrong. But in the end, working on innovation, it's not about making it green, and of course, this is the overall target, and it makes sense for all of us. But all these smaller innovative projects, they are also helpful to increase the own efficiency, so to really achieve also business goals. It's not about, no one would do it just for the sake of being a bit greener and helping the society, because there are a lot of things that are going wrong. This is the overall target, but when we're talking about innovation, it's the goal, and it should be, and it can be good for the business as well. So to, as I said, increase efficiency, decrease costs, to allow to manage operations also with the big retirement waves we will have, because we have already a shortage on people, and it will be even worse in the coming years. We all know it. So innovation and technology, autonomous driving, automated data processing, topics like this, in general, digitization, automation, this will help. And it's not a question of, do I want to do something for the green future? No. Do I want to survive? Do I want to have a healthy business still in 10 years? And do I want to have happy people still in 10 years and attract the right talent, because I have a modern work environment that I can offer to all of my people? So this is the question.
As Franz Blum stated in my previous podcast, we must believe in rail. And let's stick with belief for a moment. Do you believe that ETCS will solve the question of interoperability in the near future? Because right now we see like a complex landscape of timelines, baseline investments, and different interpretation or even of norms, and leaving many railway companies facing a significant investments with only minor enhancements or even less interoperability than today. How did we get to this point, and do you think we are on the wrong path?
Yeah, this is a bit how it looks to me. So the overall idea was good. It was also meant as the European system. This is where the E comes from. But then with all the different levels, baseline, and everything that needs to be done behind, so on the tracks, but also especially on the locomotive side, it became kind of a nightmare. So yes, I would say it looks like it's getting more of a burden for interoperability than it helps really getting there to the initial goal of ETCS.
If you would be a Commissioner of Transport, what could be your headline for your period of acting? What are the biggest topic you would solve for the railway or mobility sector?
Yeah, I think in the railway, it really needs to be on infrastructure. This is for me what needs to be kind of solved centrally. So bringing all the different investment funds together, making a real plan for the big corridors to have reliable tracks, reliable infrastructure on the big ones. This is where it should all start, with an interoperable system which is really working, and to finance it centrally, to have the same guidelines really. This would be something I would tackle on European level. You need to think about real change in this infrastructure and interoperability topic, else you will not solve the problem the railway currently has.
As our episode is about the yes, we can mentality, actually, do you think that we can overcome the challenges?
Yes, I clearly think we can, because it's about the smaller steps. These big things have been there. The infrastructure has been as it is today for the last decades. This is the problem. So we know actually how to handle it. We have a lot of very, very smart railway undertakings managing it every day. We have we've talked about people that are really able to deal with what it is. Now it's about giving them maybe more innovative ideas, more transparency on the information, data transparency, sharing information with each other, partnering up. I think it's a lot about partnerships on railway. Luckily I see a lot of communication in this sector, which might not be the case in others, but I see this mindset. And I also think that it's about the big ones taking the responsibility and moving things forward. There are also small initiatives I can see. I know that when it comes to digitization of wagons, the big wagon leases are really a huge step forward if they are now starting to cooperate even more than what they're doing today, looking at how to align technologies, use existing technologies, stop reinventing the wheel every time, and being open for innovation, looking at the innovative software solutions that are there to share people, so drivers, for example, or technical people, to improve the days. I think we can do a step forward. Are we able to meet the targets of 2030? I don't think so. I think we lost a lot of time. But these targets are kind of random. It's about moving forward. It's also about aiming for the better, about increasing your own, as I said before, your own efficiency, your own costs, and your own people. Then you will automatically move forward. So it's not, you don't need a big target to make it move in the right direction.
So I think that there's really some good closing words, and I think yes we can and at least both of us, yes we want, and I think there are a lot of people out there who really would like to see like a shiny future for the rail and the rail freight, and like it's about us, about the ecosystem, about people in the ecosystem, to just let it fly. We have it in our hands. We have to embrace innovation. We have to live it. Then we can create the future, a better future. And thank you very much, Babette, having you in my podcast in RailUp. Welcome to the RailUp Club.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
What is the contribution to drive climate change?
I will continue help railway companies to move towards digitization, accessing data, also improving on autonomous driving, really trying to think out of the box, questioning the status quo. Sometimes no one ever dares or thinks about asking a question. Why are you still doing it this way? Because there would be smarter ways to do it. Really? So sometimes it's about raising awareness, pushing the boundaries, step by step, of course, railway speed, but still moving it forward.
The ball is in your court. What is the next step to drive change?
I think it's really about starting small, look at what you have, start sharing information and ideas, partner up, and don't wait for the next big thing that will improve everything. It's about moving it on your level.
Which superhero do we need to avoid the climate disaster?
I'd call her the railway Wonder Woman. So I think it needs to be different approaches than what we had before. So a woman would be a good superhero to bring a new perspective to the table. Be creative on ideas, be open for information sharing, for discussions, communication. I think we can learn a lot from each other and leverage what is there. I think some kind of this superhero with this spirit where a lot of people, young people, are following also in the railway sector would be someone that could help move towards this direction and then finally avoid the climate disaster we are currently going to.
What's the takeaway from this episode?
My key takeaway from this episode is that we should not wait for Tesla for rail, but instead start with smaller innovations and improvements to enhance the rail ecosystem. We have the momentum and support to boost rail freight with investments and increased volume. Yes, we can, but we really need to want it at all levels. This means rethinking processes, norms, organizations, and potentially transforming business models. This transformation will generate significant pain and potential risk initially. Prominent topics are, once again, the willingness to share data and to embrace new technologies to keep up with the road transport and remain an integrated part of the global supply chain. We need to implement a mindset that fosters innovation within our organization, and that also means accepting occasional failures. I was surprised to learn that investing in locomotives can pose a financial risk in the long run, as the way we run trains in 30 years should hopefully be very different as Babette expects. Furthermore, I was surprised that the implementation of ETCS can even lead to less interoperability today, and that investments in these technologies are a significant burden for railway undertakings and infrastructure managers. When we talk about innovation, we need to address much more than just ETCS and DAC. We need to improve the ecosystem with small steps every day, be open to new technologies and build the future of rail. And that's Rail Up.
This podcast connects innovators and leaders worldwide to shape the future ecosystem of rail. Rail Up by Sebastian Sperker.